Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Welcome to our Sabbath afternoon Torah study and prayer service. Hope you're all well and blessed of the Most High. My name's Ovadia.
And I'm Yochanan.
And we're with Sabbath Keepers Fellowship.
Our co-host today is Caleb. He will be moderating the study and service, taking your questions and comments both from Zoom and the YouTube chats.
Last week, we spoke about Yehoshua and the way in Scripture, showing comparisons of the two and how they're directly related to one another in almost every way.
And today's lesson is from another article on the same subject, which is called HaDerech Yahweh Defined.
Rather than giving you our opinions on the subject or telling you what to think or what we might wish to be true, as most teachers and commentators do, we'll attempt to show you from the pages of Scripture precisely what HaDerech, the way, truly is.
That's right. And as with previous lessons, the original and complete versions of this article can be found on the library page of our website, sabbathkeepersfellowship.org.
That's sabbathkeepersfellowship.org. And it's in the library page on that website.
We're going to need to make a comment about this weather.
Yeah.
We can hear some.
We're having one heck of a storm, and we've got warnings all over the place. So if we disappear suddenly, that's the reason.
So, Shabbat Shalom, though.
Shabbat Shalom, and Yahweh bless us with protection from the storm.
That's hell.
So, yeah. It's hell.
Okay, but let's have a prayer.
Okay. Father Yahweh, we come before your throne, and we thank you for your grace and your mercy and your protection from the storm.
Hallelujah.
Wow. We ask your protection from the storm, and we thank you for it. Bless us today with understanding, knowledge, and wisdom from you. Show us the way, and then help us to walk in it. In Yehoshua's name, amen.
Hallelujah. Amen. Wow. Fanfare.
I imagine y'all can hear that. That is hail.
Do you think? Wow.
I think we should carry right on until Yahweh stops us.
All right. Baruch atah Yahweh Eloheinu melech haolam notein haTorah.
Amen.
Blessed art thou, Yahweh our Elohim, who gives us the Torah.
Amen. Okay, here we go. In any attempt to define the concept of HaDerech Yahweh, the way of Yahweh, we run into the difficulty of pinning down only a single idea that adequately explains it. It's hard to sum it up in the entire way of the Most High in a single sentence or thought. For this reason, we'll define it for you by what we already know from our own scriptural research, which has shown many diverse facets of HaDerech Yahweh that combined together make one whole picture.
So we'll first look at the literal definition of the Hebrew word, then apply what we know from Scripture to that.
Sounds fair. Okay. Derek, the Hebrew word, that's Dalet Resh Kaf, refers to a path worn by constant use and translates into English as way or road, journey, manner, work. Derek can apply to any of these in just about any context, such as something common, set apart, unrighteous, righteous, and so on.
However, when we prefix the word with the definite article ha, or hey, and follow that with the name of Yahweh, we make the phrase HaDerech Yahweh most specific, as referring to the way, the road, the journey, the manner, and the work that Yahweh has established for his children, so that they can conform to his own image and that of his Son, Yehoshua HaMashiach.
Amen. To define something, we must often use the word is to to mean is the same as or is equal to, which makes the phrase following is some kind of metaphor. Here, today, we intend to provide you with some of the metaphors that Scripture gives for Haderech Yahweh. Thus, Haderech Yahweh is
the loving way that one puts others' interests before his own.
That's the way, the path. The pure road, unstained by the world's ways.
The blessed journey of one who guards the Torah of Yahweh.
The humble manner of one who says to Yahweh, not my will, but yours be done.
The righteous works one does to esteem the Father in heaven.
The lighted way or path that shines in the world's darkness.
The narrow road, which few will find, that leads to eternal and abundant life.
Amen. The epic journey of endurance to the end, faithful to Yahweh.
The loving manner of one who lays down his life for his friends.
The generous works of one who gives, expecting nothing in return.
The trusting way of one who follows the commandments of Yahweh.
The hope-filled journey of those trusting in the Son of Yahweh, Yahushua HaMashiach.
The peaceful road that guards the heart and mind through Yahushua HaMashiach. The
kind works that provide for the orphan, the widow, the stranger among his children.
The one and only correct path that leads to communion with Elohim and community with his children.
So there are a few ideas which come from the metaphors used of Haderech in Scripture. It's not a complete definition by any stretch of the imagination, but we can see that the examples given cover a broad range of ideas which combined contribute to the concept of Haderech Yahweh.
And we have found that Scripture contains many metaphors of Haderech Yahweh.
A lot of them. So learn them. Then do what he says. Walk in the way. And perhaps one day he'll point at you and say, see, that one there? Imitate him.
Okay.
He walks according to Haderech Yahweh.
All right.
Okay.
So we've now presented this brief article by Sabbath Keepers Fellowship to you, and we'd like to talk a bit more about it. Fabian?
Okay. In some of these lessons, we provide verse references. Why didn't we do so in this one?
Well, we did the homework. We really expect other people to study, to search, to seek.
Right. We don't give that away free. You should know them. And if you don't, then if you're interested in this subject and what we have to say, or in learning more about these concepts, you'll go do the research for yourself and you will learn the answers. Typically, you'll notice in our teachings that we don't give the references, and that's the reason for it. Right? That's your job, not ours.
So.
In this article, Derek refers to a path worn by constant use. Even if few find the way, those are constantly using Haderech. Those few are constantly using Haderech, the way, rather than stumbling upon it by accident or using it as something common. The use of this way is it's intentional.
So when it talks about a few find it, it means that they're searching for it.
Right. And when they use it with intent in order to be set apart. They're doing this deliberately. It's not just any way. It's not just any path. It's his way, the way.
Well, all right. Well, is there any final thoughts? Do you have any final thoughts on this article?
in order to walk in this thing, Haderek, you have to seek it, search for it, with all your heart, with all your strength, and find it. And Yehoshua intended it that way. It wasn't for accidental use. And quite frankly, it's not for everyone. Scripture prophesies and demands and commands and says clearly that the way's narrow and few will find it. And that his followers have to pull up their tent stakes and follow him, giving up everything.
Yeah, it says that the kingdom of heaven is taken by force. Would that be a reference to seeking, searching, knocking?
Well, I think that, that being taken by force is by those who seek to misuse or abuse it. And it can't be done that way. The children of the Most High and the true disciples and followers of Yehoshua give up everything. They give up their own ways. They give up the way of the world. That would be the path, the journey, the manner of the world. And they follow after him and his disciples. And that doesn't mean following after a church or a synagogue or any such thing. It means you follow after him. But even so, as you do that with others, the others who belong to that same discipleship, that same way, and that same Master and Messiah. In our previous discussions, we said that the way is mentioned and found and written of throughout the Scripture from the beginning to the end, and it's true. We've shown you that in this short series of articles on it. That's true. But of course we all know that not everyone sees that. Not everyone has looked. People are all off doing whatever is right in their own eyes, and making up their own religions or following false ones. The way is what Scripture is about. It's about Yisrael. It's about his people. And I mean the greater commonwealth of Israel, not simply the 12 tribes,
right,
including the great multitudes that follow after them, such as in the Exodus, and such as will be the case in the end times. Faith, the way, it's about being his and being one of an exclusive group. And you don't get that by just doing things any old way. And you don't get that without striving for it and seeking and working to achieve and attain it.
Yeah.
This is not for everyone. We only wish it could be. So, if you want to learn about the way, and you want to follow it, and you want to understand it, and you want to join it, and those who are on it, you're going to have to do the work.
Right.
Salvation is free, as we often say.
Everything else costs.
But everything else costs. And Yehoshua made no bones about it with anyone who asked him. He told them it would cost. He told the rich young ruler, oh, you want more than just salvation, life. Okay? Give up everything you have and sell it to the poor, and then come follow me. Mm-hmm. The hardest thing for that rich person to possibly do. Give it all up. Yeah. And devote yourself to him. That's what the way is. That's what being a follower of Yehoshua is. And quite frankly, those are the people who he's coming for when he returns. His Kedoshim, his set-apart ones. They've set themselves apart from everything else to follow the way and belong to him, to walk as he walked. And for that, the reward is great. Those are his people who will be judges and rulers in the kingdom of heaven. So, those are my final thoughts.
All right.
All right then, that concludes our lesson on this teaching, brief and concise, and we hope you all learned as always and benefited from it. And as always, it's absolutely our privilege to bring this to you.